All right. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. We are back. Continuing with our look at the triennial Torah portion. This week we're going to be looking at Bereshit. Bereshit, Genesis chapter 20 and chapter 21. We'll be discussing Abraham's interactions with Abimelek. Abimelek. Um, just as a reminder, I'm thinking about it. We actually will not be broadcasting next week. We'll be off in Baltimore, keeping Shabbat with those down there. What's the name of that place?
Youth on Fire Conference.
Well, we'll be at the Youth on Fire Conference. Bethel House of Prayer down there. Is it in Baltimore?
Yes.
So we'll be down there, and so we'll continue with our live stream on the following Shabbat after that. So just a little reminder. But this week, we are going to go ahead and continue as per usual. We'll go ahead and pull up our scriptures here. Genesis 20. We'll go ahead and read through the 20th chapter so that we can look through it after the fact. Let me go ahead and pull that up for us here. Genesis. And we'll go ahead and read that all the way through. Oh, hold on one second. Okay, go ahead. Verse 1.
And Abraham set out from there to the land of the south, and dwelt between Kadesh and Shur, and stayed in Gerar. And Abraham said concerning Sarah his wife, She is my sister. And Abimelek, sovereign of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. But Elohim came to Abimelek in a dream by night, and said to him, See, you are a dead man, because of the woman whom you have taken, for she is a man's wife. However, Abimelek had not come near her, and he said, Yahweh, would you kill a righteous nation also? Did he not say to me, She is my sister? And she herself, said, He is my brother. In the integrity of my heart, and in the innocence of my hands I have done this. And Elohim said to him in a dream, Yes, I know that you did this in the integrity of your heart, so I kept you from sinning against me. For this reason I did not let you touch her. And now return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and let him pray for you, and you live. But if you do not return her, know that you shall certainly die, you and all that is yours. So Abimelek rose early in the morning and called all his servants and spoke all these words in their hearing. And the men were greatly frightened. And Abimelek called Abraham and said to him, What have you done to us? In what have I sinned against you, that you brought on me and my reign a great sin? You have done matters to me that should not be done. And Abimelek said to Abraham, What did you have in view, that you have done this matter? And Abraham said, Only because I said to myself, The fear of Yahweh is not in this place, and they shall kill me for the sake of my wife. and yet she is truly my sister. She is the daughter of my father, but not of my mother, and she became my wife. And it came to be when Elohim caused me to wander from my father's house that I said to her, this is your loving commitment that you should do for me in every place. Wherever we go, say of me, he is my brother. That Abimelek took sheep and cattle and male and female servants and gave them to Abraham. And he returned to Sarah his wife, and he returned Sarah his wife to him. And Abimelek said, see, my land is before you. Dwell wherever it is good in your eyes. And to Sarah he said, see, I have given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. See, it is to you a covering of eyes before all who are with you and before all others, and you are cleared before everyone. And Abraham prayed to Elohim, and Elohim healed Abimelek and his wife and his female servants, so they bore children. For Yahweh had closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelek because of Sarah, Abraham's wife.
All right. Very good.
Wow.
Let's go back to the top here. Talk about some things here with our chapter. Let's go back up to the top here. Verse 1. Okay, so we see over here, Abraham says Abraham journeyed from there where he was actually. Last time we saw Abraham, he was up in the plains of Mamre. Right, we kind of had a parenthetical interjection with the situation with Lot. You know, if we were watching a movie, you know, we saw what was going on with Abraham with his situation, and then the focus switched over to Lot. You know, he had his scenes and all of that with his travelings and so on and so forth. And then we come back to Abraham, where he leaves from where he was, and he moves in a southerly direction, right? From where he was. If we were to look at this now, Abraham is roaming around really what we know of as Israel, the land of Israel. But these places, of course, haven't become Israel proper yet, right? So we have all of these different places that he's moving about, you know, where he's meeting these kings and having these interactions with these different people, going to these different quote unquote lands that are all actually within what we know today as Israel. So he gets down to kind of this southern region called Gerar, which he finds this king here, Abimelek, this king. It's interesting when you look, it's probably the case that Abimelek is not actually the name of the king, but probably the title, similar to what we know of as, like, say, Pharaoh, right? How Pharaoh is the kind of ruler / king of Egypt. This here Abimelech really is this is what people are thinking anyway, that this is more so a title, more so than a
Hmm.
All right. So Abimelech is my father. My father is king, or my father the king. We see father of there, of Avi, Melech. My father basically is king, father king. And so when we think about this, as a word title, if we were to kind of, seek to, gain some understanding from this name, all of these names that we see in scriptures, they all have meaning. We don't. There's no such thing as like a superfluous name. You're not just making up names. You're not just putting letters together. There's meaning. There's meaning behind all of these things, right? And so Abimelech, again, Abimelech is, par for the course here, as we see that this name / title is given.
I wonder if he was really even like a king as opposed to like a clan leader.
Well,
king might be a real loose, I should say, not used. A loose word.
It's what's it call him here? I don't know what If you think about king, I mean, what does it really mean to be a king?
Mm-hmm. I mean, he definitely had a lot of wives.
He was a ruler of an area. Again, this land, if we were to look at this at a map, I guess it's kind of a southeastern region of, I think it might be the southeasternest part of Israel. When you look at it, I'm pretty sure it's close to where what would become Edom is, and Edom is kind of outside of Israel, but it's south of it, like. But inside of what we know of as, I should have got a map. You have this place, so it's a location. When you look at Israel on a map, it's not really that big, really, when you think about it. But this is a way of describing him. If we look, let's see here. Well, it's actually calling him
the sovereign.
Sovereign in the English. I guess when we look at this,
I mean, like, was it like a huge area?
Well, it most definitely wasn't that.
Yeah. Could you? I just sent you a perfect little mapping of it.
Let me see.
Well, if you can open it on your thing.
Let me see if I can. Hold on 1 second. What can I do? Let's see here. Yes, I will be able to do this. Let's see here. Visuals are important, and even looking at this is not as south as I was saying. It's south, but it's not all the way at the bottom. But here, let me see if I can. Let's see if I can get it here. Let's see. Where would it go? Only problem is I don't know where I just sent it to.
Okay. Let me resend it again. Didn't pay attention to where. Okay.
This time I won't just save it willy nilly.
Okay.
Okay, let's do this. Hold on 1 second. We got all this technology. One day I'll be proficient at utilizing it.
One day at a time.
All right. I think.
I was about to say.
Oh, yep, I see Garor down there.
Hold on, just airdrop it one more time.
That next to the garbage can, click that down at the bottom.
Oh, did you see it pop up?
Yeah.
Oh, it's right here. Where'd it go? How big am I?
Look at your main screen.
Oh, so over there.
Okay.
It's crazy. I'm such a amateur.
It's all right. There we go. There we go.
Okay.
We laugh now.
Wow, that was hard. Okay. All right. So interesting. Mamre, the plains of Mamre are here. This is where Abraham was. We see that he traveled down. If we was just to say this place here, like if we just say like this area here, again, when you blow this out and think about how big Israel literally is, you know, you're talking about a small place. So if you said that this was a tribe, if he was just to say this is a tribe of people, he still is the ruler of this group of people. I guess when we think about king, we think about a lot of people, I guess, just the way we think about things. But you know, this place could have had a king and this place could have had a king, you know what I mean? Because at this point, you're dealing with these little tribes, I guess, that are living within these certain lands. You know, when we get to the bottom, he's telling Abraham, you know, you can be wherever you want to be. Right? He gives him like free reign of a particular area. You know, we don't know exactly the square mile footage of the area, but you know, he still is a this ruler.
Just like in a smaller microcosm, every man's supposed to be a ruler of his household.
Right.
So if you got majority of people following after you, ruler.
There's people that are there that follow him. Right. You know, I don't want to try to diminish his situation because he has some, you know, whatever, however big
the amount of people.
Nah. Yeah, but he was a king, right? He was sovereign of his place. It's interesting when we look at Abraham, you know, again, here, let's look at this some more. Because when you think about Abraham as being this person who's, you know, it seems like he's traveling around. He had his little tents that was in Mamre before. But when you think about the life that he lives, that I guess most people live at that time, where he kind of, it's interesting. This is an interesting photo because it's giving you these arrows. Whoever made this probably has this color coded to when he was doing this or that. But you think about animal, cattle, you know, they'll eat up the grass in one location and have to go to another spot. And so as far as he knows, the Most High said, this is going to be yours. So he's traveling around to these other places. There's kings. It's interesting. There's kings there where the Most High said, this is going to be your land.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to these places and
Mm-hmm.
there's a king there. Meanwhile, the Most High said, that's yours. It's interesting when you think about this because, we, even just right now, we have a king, right?
Yep.
We live in, we're here in Pittsburgh, more specifically, Mount Oliver. We have a mayor of Little Mount Oliver. We're neighbored by Pittsburgh. There's a mayor there. The city has a mayor, the state has a governor, the country has a president. We're not a monarchy here. It's a democracy. But we have a king, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeshua. And it's interesting when we look at, Abraham's situation where, he's able to look and understand these things probably in a prophetic standpoint, where he's able to understand all of this stuff that he's looking at, all of these places that he goes. He's able to see these physical locations that are, currently being ruled by this one or that one. But at the end of the day, these places belong to him because of what it is the Most High has already spoken. And so when we think about scriptures, that talk about, like, particularly Paul, where he says that we are seated in heavenly places. He's talking to people about their current situation. Meanwhile, they're physically seated somewhere on earth. But when you have a, fortified relationship with the master, your ending, has already been told. When you continue in the position that the Most High has placed you in, the end of the book is already written, right? And so it's interesting. We kind of see this kind of situation with Abraham, where he deals with this king here in this land that will eventually be his land, right? And so when we think about let's see here, Abimelech, there's some interesting things that we see with dealing with Abimelech, right? First of all, well, before we talk about Abimelech, let's talk about the fact that we have Abraham who, oh, wait a second. He has this situation where he is, again, we already saw once before with Pharaoh. Again, this is how we think that Hagar came on the scene. But we see again with Abraham going to this place that he says that his wife is his sister as he comes across Abimelech. So when we think about, speaking about Abimelech and his, there is at least in the mind of Abraham, a thought of the place that he's going, kind of the reputation of Abimelech obviously precedes him. He knows, Abraham that is, knows that this is kind of perplexing to me, because why couldn't it just been his wife and then he don't even have to worry about it? Like, it could have just been his wife, and then is Abimelech out here taking people's wives? Like, he says that it's his sister. and then she's taken. But if he says that it's his wife, maybe he don't want another man's wife.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Maybe like what's the deal? Like,
Because either the spirit is coming and said, but Elohim came to them like in a dream by night. So either Elohim is having mercy on Abraham or Abimelech. Like for whose sake? But like as you saying, Abraham should have just stood on his righteousness and said, "This is my wife," and so Abimelech wouldn't be put in a position of sinning because Abraham's lie.
Yeah, he didn't know.
Yeah, if he didn't know, so maybe Elohim was giving him mercy by sending this dream because he don't know. Because Abimelech technically was lied to.
yeah, he
Technically.
most definitely
You
was.
know what I mean? So he was
That's the
so
taker.
so that's like
I'm just saying when we just look at this, it's like Abraham. It's almost like he does this thing unnecessarily.
Mhm.
Why couldn't he have just said, "This is my"? Well, I guess he says later that he thought he didn't know that the people there feared the Most High.
yeah.
He does say that. But I want to talk about Abimelech because when we look at him again, the Most High says in verse 3, Elohim came to him in a dream. Abimelech, again, I don't know what his
Belief.
well, I don't know what his beliefs are. I don't know what his pedigree is.
Oh, okay.
I don't know either one of those things. I don't know his pedigree. I don't know his beliefs.
Mhm.
But he obviously has some type of connection with the Elohim that we know of. It says Elohim came to him in a dream by night and has these things to say to him. Now, when you think about what's going on, if you was to say like speaking about like some atheist or someone some type of non-believer, for the Most High to actually speak to that individual, like if it's somebody who don't care about the Almighty, like so what if you have a dream?
Right.
Like if you don't care, like I had this dream, it doesn't really matter. Like if you're somebody who's not connected like that. But if it means something, now the thing that you've seen in your dream, you're going to act appropriately on these things. And so it's interesting to think about the fact that the Most High not wasting his time by coming to this individual, speaking with him, and knowing that when he in fact speaks to him, that there's going to be actions that go along with what's taking place. He says he gives him the truth about what's going on, saying that she is married.
Jacob.
And so why then does this matter to someone who is wicked or doesn't have the fear of the Most High present with him? In fact, it shows the righteousness of Abimelech.
Yeah, a little bit of right ruling.
I feel like I don't know why you would say he has a little bit. I don't know. I don't know what's.
Does he become a prophet because he experienced a vision? Or
I don't know that he's a prophet. We'll talk about that a little later. But I don't think that he has to be a prophet necessarily in order to be a righteous man. He obviously hears from the Most High. He accepts the words of the Most High, and he does that which he hears from the Most High. And then verse 4, we see where he's saying, will you slay a righteous nation.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Is the place where Abimelech dwells righteous? Is it like, is he making a case, or is he just saying, like, is he challenging the Most High, or is this does he have a point in what he's saying?
Like a claim, you mean?
Oh, you got go on the other
What
screen.
verse-
Go
what
to
verse
verse 4. Go to verse 4, please. That's where it was. And I didn't see it on the screen. What you mentioned. Yeah.
Would you kill a righteous nation also, he asks. Because the way that the Most High is speaking to him, because of what you did, you're a dead man.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on.
You killing yourself.
Yep.
He's like, hold on.
Because of what you did.
I didn't even know what I was
Well, because of what is going on. If you proceed in the direction that you're moving in based on this deception that you've encountered, if you continue in this way, your end is going to be death.
Yep.
So to what you're saying over here, who's the Most High protecting? Is he protecting Abraham, or is he protecting Abimelech?
Mm-hmm.
Why does the Most High even care? Let him do what he got to do.
If he's wicked.
And if he's wicked, let him do what he got to do.
Mm-hmm.
And who cares if you die?
Yep.
Because you're none of mine.
Yep.
But the Most High goes to Abimelech and warns him.
This is like the Paul. It's like I see Paul in this. Who else? It slipped my mind, but yeah, like why can't? Oh, the other example. He didn't do this to Pharaoh.
No,
He said
made it worse for Pharaoh.
He said he hardened his heart.
He didn't want him to.
But
do
here, clearly Abimelech must have been dealing with him, so he came to him. But Pharaoh, he didn't come to him like that. He
Not like
hardened
this.
his heart, so he wanted them to be destroyed.
Yes, but Abimelech is being protected here. It's so interesting what's happening, where you have kind of opposite. They're counterparts, really. They're opposites of each other. Abraham, Abimelech. But at the same time, the Most High is protecting both of them. Where he's not just partial to Abraham or Abimelech. He's protecting both of them. He wants for them both to be doing the right thing. Meanwhile, we know for a matter of fact that at this point he's got a covenant with Abraham. But he goes over to Abimelech and says, wait a second. This actually is someone who's married to someone. You need to cease and desist right now. Or else.
Or you're going to die.
Mm-hmm. So, again, so there's multiple things going on. The Most High is preserving Sarah. The Most High is preserving Abimelech. The Most High is preserving Abraham all at the same time. I want to look at a few things. Let's go over to, how do these people even become righteous? How do these people even become righteous? We don't know. Again, we don't know where they came from. We don't know, their pedigree. But again, we see that the Most High is, in fact, keeping these people. Somehow, they learned of righteousness and began to walk in it. They know a type of righteousness, and they walk in it. Abimelech, as the king here, somehow, we don't know. Somehow he gains a standard, some moral code that he lives by, that the Most High honors, and he actually hears from and has connected with the creator of the universe, right? We don't know what that is or how that is. But one thing we are able to say that again, when we think about the Most High and His righteousness, things that He qualifies as righteousness are things that exhibit His character.
Yes.
And so, up to this point, we're seeing that the Most High is dealing with more than this one particular family, right? At this juncture, there is no Israel anyway, right? We know that He is going to enhance and bless and multiply Abraham's seed. That hasn't happened yet. But again, when we look over here at what He's doing with Abimelek, however it is that he has been connected to the Most High, he's obviously being preserved and protected by the Most High, because the Most High didn't have to say anything to him, right? But let's look over at a few things here. If we go to Isaiah, what's it say in Isaiah 54? Read for us verse 5.
It says, "For your maker is your husband. Yahweh Elohos is his name, and set apart one of Israel is your redeemer. He is called the Elohim of all the earth."
It said He is called the Elohim of all the earth. He's Elohim of all the earth.
Mm-hmm.
He has a set apart people, Israel. At this point, Israel, right? And He's the redeemer of Israel, but He, in fact, is the Elohim of the entire earth.
The universe.
He's the Elohim of everything. Verse 27.
Man, that's a killer right there. So Jeremiah 32:27. See, Yahweh, the Elohim of all flesh. Is there any matter too hard for me?
No, there isn't.
Nope. Nope.
But He's the Elohim of all flesh.
All.
When there are those that seek after Him, He don't say to them, well, who is your daddy? What is your pedigree? Before I decide that I'm going to deal with you. We see this thing that's going on over here with Abraham, with Sarah, with Abimelek, and the Most High is seeing to it that none of the parties are harmed in the process of what's going on. Abraham created this interesting situation here. Abraham created it.
Mm-hmm.
The father of our faith created this adverse situation, and in the midst of it, the Most High is going to preserve all of the parties involved. It's interesting that you bring up Pharaoh, because the situation that Pharaoh creates in terms of his the hardship, the oppression that he puts on to Israel. When you look at that situation, the Most High isn't trying to preserve all parties in that situation. He only wants to preserve Israel. The other parties involved receive judgment. Where you very well could see that same situation over here, where he Abimelech gets the opportunity to correct this thing that he didn't even start in the first place. He wasn't even the one. Yeah, he got tricked into it. We don't know if whenever his people meet up with Abraham, if he would have said, "Oh yeah, this is my wife," like he got all of these people around. He's rolling with peoples,
Mm-hmm.
right? He probably got other people that that they could have took. That wasn't his wife. That was just some random people.
And
like take Hagar. She's like
yeah.
she's just a servant.
Did you just say?
Or someone like unto it. But he's sitting up here giving away
The chief wife of
the
plan.
wife. But the point is that in all of this, the Most High is preserving all parties involved.
Mm-hmm.
Like he cares about the destination of Abimelech. He cares about what's going to happen as a result of these interactions. He cares about what's going to happen to Abimelech. He tells him right now, if you keep on going the way that you're going,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be bad for you.
Dead.
Right? It's going to be the worst. For you.
Dead. Yeah.
Don't get no worse than that.
Don't go that way. And what's interesting too, to contrast, what happened also was the similar way that he's reacting. Think about Lot when he was in the land he was in. He asked, "There's nobody else righteous? You gonna take everybody out?" And the Most High and Lot had to swallow the fact that no, there was nobody else outside of your family. But see, Abimelech, he had righteous people with him. And so the Most High stepped in and was like, all right, look, to do this because of this,
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it in that regards, connecting like where they are and Gerar to Sodom, that was the same. Like the Most High didn't go and visit anybody else in the place to warn them of what was going on. But he does stop and deal with Lot and tell Lot, you got to get up out of here because I'm about to kill all of these people. But this isn't what I mean. It's essentially the same thing when you think about it.
Yeah.
They're moving in a direction which is going to lead to destruction, and the Most High says you should do something about this. And the thought that I'm thinking about here is, why does he even care about this if he's just some heathen?
Mm-hmm.
He obviously isn't. All right, what's it say in Psalms 117, 1 and 2? Oh, go ahead. What was you gonna say?
To me?
Yeah.
I was gonna say that the difference, I think that when I think about Abraham, his status kind of becomes to the level of like a king in some respects to the people of that time, because he has such a large company with him. But the difference between him and someone like an Abimelech is that they have land, property, and Abraham's like this nomad type of a person.
Yeah.
He's just wandering around. He don't have property to go with his people.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, he is like, he has a huge company of people that rolls with him.
Yeah.
But he, you're right. What he doesn't have is, a place, because the place that the Most High said is his, there's people there already. Yeah. Okay. Read for us Psalm 117, 1 and 2 there.
Praise Yah, all you nations, extol him, all you peoples, for his loving commitment is mighty over us, and the truth of Yah is everlasting. Praise Yah.
All right. So we also see in Psalms this idea here. And so, when we think about the Most High, and his dealings with man, even when we think about a time, after Israel is established, even the nation of Israel, if the Most High says in Exodus chapter 19 that Israel will be a nation of priests, if the whole nation is priests, you're priests to whom? Right? Because the job of a priest is for you to be kind of the intercessor between the Most High and man. If you're dealing with the whole nation, and you're saying that the whole nation is going to be a nation of priests, then that nation of priests is supposed to be the the go-between between the Most High and the other nations. The task of Israel was really to show the nations, the world, how to approach the Most High. However, when we look at the history of Israel, Israel always, lacked in, its original purpose of being a influencer and becoming that, one that is influenced.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of changing, you know, the nations that were around, we allow for the nations around to seep into what we were doing, and that was always the thing that caused for us to, kind of be on the outs with the Most High. One more thing, we look over and let's go to Romans quick here, because it's interesting when we look at what Romans has to say when we think about our relationship with Messiah, how that should cause for us to be. Read verse 8, read down to 13.
And I said that Yeshua Messiah has become a servant of the circumcision for the truth of Elohim, to confirm his promises made to the fathers, and for the nations to praise Elohim and his compassion, as it has been written. Because of this I shall confess to you among the nations, and shall sing to your name. And again it says, rejoice, O nations, with his people. And again, praise Yah, all you nations. Praise him, all you peoples. Again and again, Yeshayahu says, there shall be a root of Yeshi, and he who shall rise to reign over the nations. On him the nations shall set their expectation. And the Elohim of expectation fill you with all joy and peace in believing, that you overflow with expectation by the power of the set apart spirit.
Okay, very good. So when we think about, where we are, what we are to be doing inside of, through our relationship with Yeshua HaMashiach, when we look at this, he, in fact, is the confirmation of the promises that were made to the fathers. When he talks about the fathers, it's talking about, that Israel of the flesh, the natural born Israel. There was promises that was made to Israel for the world. so that the world is able to praise Elohim. The world can't praise the nations. The world can't praise Elohim if the nations, the world is separated from Elohim. You can't know how it is that you're even supposed to deal with Elohim if you're, been separated, disconnected from the Most High. And so it's important for the Most High's people, Israel, to reconnect to the Most High, not so that we're able to, just be Israel, but so that we can be a nation of priests and lead the world back to the Most High for the nations, so that the nations are able to praise Elohim.
Exactly.
And so, this is something that many, people, we fall short because we're so busy and worried and thinking about, Israel and who's Israel and who isn't Israel. When we need to be thinking about how is the redemption of mankind going to be realized. It can only be realized through our connection to Messiah, through Yeshua HaMashiach. And so when we think about what we see with the interactions between Abraham and Abimelech, again, it's interesting that when we look at this, the Most High's interests are not solely on Abraham. They're also connected to Abimelech. He doesn't want for Abimelech to continue in this way. He warns him. Right? Because he's been deceived.
Right.
He's been deceived by Abraham. It's so interesting. Abraham's the liar here. Abraham's the one that's in the wrong over here. Well, the Most High, of course, has made a covenant with Abraham, and he gives him some leeway, right? He
Exactly.
He does it right. We see the grace.
Yep.
We see great.
That's grace right there.
This is the Old Testament. We're supposed to have the judging.
Yeah. Where the lightning at?
Evil Elohim
who should have been struck
who's
for
quick
that lie
to judge over here. Where all we see is judgment. He's the mean guy, the God of the Old Testament. Abraham's out here lying and deceiving people, and the Most High still is saying, "It's okay. I'll step in and fix the situation."
The father of faith, having mercy on the father of faith, right there, giving them grace, showing them grace, right there.
If that ain't grace, I don't know what is.
Yep.
Right. He told the truth. It is the truth. She is really his sister. However, she's also his wife. And so that's a lie, though, right? If I'm telling you half the truth, it's a whole lie. Half the truth is a whole lie.
In this situation.
I'm leaving out the most important part. Yeah, it's my sister, but she's my wife, though.
And she's supposed to be the mother of this promise that he was getting.
So I mean, think about the what could have taken place here if the Most High just allows for all of this just to go down. Then now you got DNA issues now, and they didn't even have paternity tests. They didn't have Ancestry.com back in those days. They didn't have Maury Povich. to take Abraham and Abimelek on the Maury Povich show and say, "You are not
Right.
the father."
No, but you know what they did have?
What?
They had the angels. They would have came and told them.
They
They would have been like, look.
That's not yours.
Yeah.
And so the Most High is keeping them from any type of confusion. He said what he was going to do in the time that he was going to do it in, who was going to be the father, who was going to be the mother. And so the Most High has to step in now, because now Sarah's in a situation where she could be compromised. And even if he brings Sarah back to Abraham, then now you got to wonder, like, if there wasn't no spiritual intervention to happen, he would be wondering his whole life, man, is that my baby?
Right.
Is that really my son? But all because of this deception, all because of this lie. Let's look over here real quick. Let's see what it says over here. Let's go to Psalms real quick here. If we look at read for us verse 29.
Remove from me the way of falsehood and favor me with your Torah.
Just here, the King James word literally says lying, right? It's literally lying. If we was to look in Exodus chapter 20, where it talks about a false witness, it's literally a lying witness, right? It's a witness that's giving falsehoods, right? And so when we think about what it is Abraham is doing over here, he's literally lying. It's an untruth. His silence, his omission of certain facts is, deception, is falsehood, is a lie. And so when we think about, what's going on over here, and we see the way that Abimelek, when he's confronted with the truth, when we see, if we go back to Genesis, let's see, go back to Genesis 20. Look what the Most High has to say. Read verse 6 again.
Elohim said to him in a dream, yes, I know that you did this in the integrity of your heart, and so I kept you from sinning against me. For this reason, I did not let you touch her.
Now, again, the Most High, does he care about the sin of a sinner? Like, if you're separated from the Most High, can you be like more separated if you already separated? Like, is that a thing? Is it like a math integer line when if you're -2, and then you just another sin gets you 2 more negatives, like it just moves you further away? Or they're like, is it just like if you a sinner, you a sinner?
Yeah.
If
If you're a sinner, you're a sinner. It's
Right.
not like you just not like add up. It's not like you sit up here and how the police will sit up here and truck up your charges, and give you all these extra things that they won't put on your jacket. Right? If you a sinner, you a sinner. And so why would the Most High want to have any thought to keep a sinner from sinning? You already living in a life of sin. So go ahead and live your life of sin. He gives people over. We read in Romans where Most High gives people over to their own reprobate minds. If you have it in your mind where you desire to live a life that's disconnected from the Most High, He gives you what you want. But He said over here in verse 6 that I also kept you from sinning against me. And it wasn't even like on purpose. It wasn't like He was making moves to sin. He was making moves. The Most High said, I know that in the integrity of your heart, or that word is tome, the innocence of your heart, the uprightness of your heart, the completeness or the prosperity of your heart, He said, you did, it says that in the integrity of your heart, you have done this. You did what you thought was right at the time. Mm-hmm. You wasn't operating out of wickedness, He said to Abimelek. You wasn't operating out of wickedness. You was operating in the spirit of uprightness, actually. Because He thought that He had a single woman. I mean, I guess it's a thing. She's
an old single woman. She's still a single woman.
Yeah, but He didn't care nothing about that. He just saying Sarah. Sarah was something. Boy, as old as she was, she still looked like she, because black don't crack out here, right? So, black don't crack. She's not walking around here with wrinkles and all of this stuff. Yeah, she had some shea butter on her skin. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They was eating all organic stuff too.
Yeah, right? All that. The elasticity was all in her skin. You know what I mean? There wasn't none that was sagging. Oh my goodness. I can't even stand it. So he thought he was getting, what he was getting. And he was right. He wasn't even wrong for it. That, this is the times. If you're a sovereign of a place, people are coming through your situation. You got a right to whatever comes into your situation.
Yeah.
And people were just handing they people over to the sovereign
to avoid any conflict.
Yeah, or whatever. Right. And the Most High don't blame him for this. He said, in the integrity of your heart, mm-hmm. you did that. Mm-hmm. And to keep you from sinning against me, the sinning against me part that had nothing to do with him having the sister of Abraham. Right. It had something to do with him having the wife of Abraham. If it was just a sister, it would have been no big deal. Yep. And so it's just so interesting when we look at this, what's going on over here. And in the story, Abimelek is the one that's walking in righteousness, really. We can't put no tally marks against Abimelek over here. Exactly. But we could put some tally marks against Abraham. Exactly. He's sinning. Because it was a lie. It was a lie. I mean, because he only told half of the truth. Mm-hmm. All right, let's look at this over here. What's Proverbs? What does it say here? Verse. Oh, hold on a second. Read for us verse 6.
Righteousness watches over him who is perfect in the way, but wrongness overthrows the sinner.
Okay, very good. When we walk in righteousness, by very virtue of us walking a particular way, it protects us in the way. As we go, it protects us. This word here, not sar, to guard, to protect, to maintain, preserve, right? And so righteousness over here, the way that is being described over here, it watches over us because we're kind of walking in righteousness. If I'm not going around working, doing evil things, then I'm not going to get caught up in evil things. And, my life is going to be okay. Because righteousness watches over him who is perfect in the way. If I'm walking in righteousness, how am I going to get caught up in wrongness? I can't, because I'm walking in righteousness.
Right.
But if I'm walking in wrongness, I'm going to be overthrown. Exactly. My situation going to get jammed up because I'm jamming other people up. This right here is reaping and sowing.
Exactly. Yep.
This is reaping and sowing right here. Yep. Proverbs 13:6. If I'm walking in righteousness, I'm sowing righteousness, and so I'm going to reap the fruits of righteousness. But if I'm sowing wrongness, what I'm going to reap from that is my situation becoming overthrown.
Yep.
What's it say over here? The Most High gave Abimelek the opportunity to know what he was getting himself into. He cared enough to say, well, I need to do something about this or else I'm going to become overthrown, right? Because of the fact that he understood this idea that righteousness watches over him who is perfect in the way. He found out that unrighteousness was trying to creep in to his situation. And so then he makes adjustments. Right? What's Psalms 25 and 21 say?
25:21. Let integrity and straightness guard me, for I have waited for you.
Yes. So again, we see this idea of these things that are inanimate objects, right? Integrity and straightness, uprightness, righteousness. But these things are guarding you. How? Because you're walking in a particular way. You're not getting involved in these other things, which is going to get you and take you places that you don't want to be. Right? And so when we look at Abimelek, where the same thing is true with him, he's moving in a particular direction, and the Most High sees that he could potentially, he didn't veer off track. The Most High, before he able to step into the snare, the Most High, shows him what's going on, and he makes the proper adjustments. Now, it's interesting that, somebody talked about this idea of a prophet. Was he a prophet? I don't know that. The scripture don't say that, but the scripture says Abraham was a prophet, right? And so we could say that there was a closer relationship between the Most High and Abraham, where he was able to do wrong. We established that this was wrong what he did. He deceived, he lied. But when we look at, if we go back over to Genesis 20, and 7. Read again for us, verse 7. This is still Abimelech dealing with the Most High. Verse 7.
And now return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and let him pray for you, and you live. But if you do not return her, know that you shall certainly die, and you and all that are yours.
Okay, so when we see what is going on, the way that the Most High is actually preserving Abimelech is actually through something that seems like a plague on Abimelech and his people. We see once all this is all said and done, it says that, or if we go down to at the end, we go all the way down to the end. Yahweh closed up all the wombs in the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. Abimelech and the women had some kind of physical repercussions on them as a result of Sarah being there and potentially, defiling this whole situation, right? And so he wasn't able to. He had to do more than just return a wife. It said to return a man's wife. Abraham, as a prophet, it calls him a prophet. Let him pray for you, and you'll live. And so there was some restoration that needed to happen in Abimelech so that he was able to be good again. And so we see again that the Most High is dealing with being preserved by the Most High, but also so is Abraham and so is Sarah. But we can see that there's like kind of degrees of connectiveness to the Most High between all of them here. Abimelech, he hears from the Most High. He knows things are given to him from the Most High. But Abraham then is like, he's on another level. He's called a prophet. So again, we see that the Most High has more of a connection with Abraham, and he needs for there to be kind of this external intervention that happens between Abraham and Abimelech so that they're able to move forward. So he needs to do this act of returning the unscathed Sarah back to Abraham. And he also needs this intervention to take place, this intermediation to take place with Abraham and Abimelech so that he's able to live. And
it just seems like Abraham was putting God to the test in some respects, because it's too close to whenever he's supposed to be having this child. Like, it's just too close.
It is too close, and I think this is why we see the Most High intervening the way that he is. Right, he's definitely is intervening miraculously on a situation. He had to step in. He had to plague the people.
He had to make them understand that Abraham was the person they needed to go to get prayed for.
He had to make all of that clear. But I think the other thing that he's doing that we see with Abraham is that we see that there's some, even though the Most High calls him this prophet, right? He's already made this covenant with Abraham. We're still able to see that, this is not Abraham in his maturity. We're seeing kind of a flawed still Abraham. We're seeing Abraham who's not reached his potential still, because of this move that he's making. This is a lack of faith that we see in Abraham when he goes and says, take my wife, take my sister, you know, he's not trusting in the Most High to protect him and Sarah to the fullness. Like there's a level of faith. We do see a level of faith because, well, we could make the argument that there's a level of faith because you could say, well, he trusted that the Most High would keep her, where she was at. But that's
not if you lied.
I'm saying that's a greater level of. It's like he's causing the Most High to have to do more to protect. If she's over there, then if he would have just, I feel like it takes in his doubt is causing himself to have put a greater level in the preserving the preservation of the Most High by having her be in this foreign place with this foreign person, more so than it was for him just to keep her back with him. I think it's just a terrible situation that he created when he could have just kept her there and trusted that the Most High would preserve them all together, where he has this unknown variables that he's inserted into the situation, Abimelek, where he don't know what the Most High got to do in order to keep her over there.
Yeah, that's what makes it wrong, because either way it's a lie.
It's a lie.
Any way you lie,
it's a lie,
and it's not the truth. Like it still goes against you, no matter. He has no defense in that.
No,
there's no defense in that.
There isn't.
Because the lie is the lie, and your lies causes somebody else to suffer. And so, there's just no defense for it. But I think it's the mercy of the Most High on both of them show forth.
Yeah. All right, let's keep on going down here. So again, we mentioned over in verse 11 kind of the reasoning behind Abraham's actions is that he wasn't expecting for Abimelek to be somebody who fears the Most High. This is what he's saying. I thought that Abimelek was this heathen. Only because he said in verse 11, only because I said to myself, Abraham said to myself, there's no way the fear of Elohim could be in this place. They're going to kill me because of her.
Mm-hmm.
So he has a fear for his life based on the fact that he thinks that these people don't fear Elohim. And so, his fear, he's having this physical. Just go.
Where do you want to go? The bathroom.
Yeah. Wow. He has this fear for what could potentially happen. He said, I said this to myself, but wouldn't the better thing to have been for him to consult with the Most High and for him to ask the Most High as the prophet that he is, for him to say, what would happen? What would happen? What's going to happen when these people come down here and see Sarah and want to take her? Why couldn't he ask the Most High and beforehand stopped all of this to begin with? This is a perfect example of the problems that we get into when we operate in fear and emotions. Like he didn't think about these things properly. What he should have did was deal directly to the Most High first and find out how he was supposed to proceed, because it says that when they left, it's like he had a plan for what to always do whenever he faces a certain situation that he always did, all the way back from whenever he left in the first place. Like they said in verse here, read verse 13 again.
You did have a plan. The same thing you did before.
What do it say in verse 13?
And it came to be, but Elohim caused me to wander from my father's house, that I said to her, this is your loving commitment that you should do for me. In every place, wherever we go, say of me, he is my brother.
And so they had a plan. This was the plan that they stuck to from the beginning, and then they stuck to the plan. I'm saying that they needed to update their plan. Mm-hmm. They need to update their exit strategy. I think about this sometimes. We think about what we would do in these emergency situations.
Right.
Like if somebody breaks into your house or a fire happens, somebody tries to rob you or whatever. If you kind of practice what you'll do, in a kind of a safe environment, when the situation becomes elevated, you don't have to worry about thinking about what you would do because you've already practiced what it is you will do, and so when the time comes, it becomes automatic. Right? And so when the stressful situation happens, you already know that you're supposed to do this, and this.
Right.
And so Abraham, he had that part ready. He's a warrior. He knows, he has a plan. And so he said, we're gonna come against these people. They're gonna come. And so whenever they come, instead of them killing me, you just say that I'm your brother and you my sister, and then they won't kill me, and then they'll just take you. And then I'll stay alive. It was a plan. It was a plan that they had, previously. But I'm saying that they got to a place where they were supposed to revisit their strategy. Because the Most High said what he was going to do. He changed the trajectory of their lives. And he said what he was going to do in the time frame that he was going to do it. He made a covenant with Abraham. He's forever joined with the creator and sustainer of all things. They needed to go back and adjust their situation, because he just went right into their regular thing, where and this stage of the game, he's supposed to be trusting in the Most High. Like he made up that strategy way back when he didn't really have that relationship with the Most High to this extent yet. And so now, as his closeness to the Father has it changed into something else, then he got his actions and things got to also change. And so he's still dealing with thinking about the way that he would behave all those years ago, when now he's supposed to be trusting more in the Most High. And this is the problem. Again, he's called a prophet, he's supposed to be able to hear from the Most High, speak, make his requests of the Most High. He's even saying to the Most High is even saying to Abimelek, yeah, he caused the situation, but he's also the one that's able to pray over your situation and fix it.
Yeah.
If you do the right thing. And so it's interesting when we look at this whole situation with Abraham, with Abimelek, with Sarah, with the Most High, the way that we see where he's every step of the way dealing with each one, seeking for the entire situation to be rectified and dealing with each one in the midst of it, and them all coming to the proper resolution at the end. And we see at the when it gets to the end, Abraham prays to the Most High. He heals Abimelek and his wife and these people, his people, so that they're able to their bodies from this apparent plague is restored. And so we see where again Abraham, his faith is tested. He's not, he doesn't make the proper decisions, but it helps for us to be able to look and see and understand what should have happened and still learn from his mistakes, to know that we have to be able to walk in righteousness no matter what. The Most High had to make these these extra moves to preserve the situation where this really could have went bad, because Abraham don't know. He don't know, like there's an unknown. To him, Abimelek is the unknown. And so he has to also trust in Abimelek, who's unknown in this situation, where the only thing he should have had to do was just trust in the Most High. But again, he's operating out of fear, and it's causing him to lose focus over him. All right, let's go over really quick to the next chapter over there. We've got a couple things over there before we are done.
Next chapter, Genesis 21. Let me see your phone real quick. Genesis.
All right, let's read. Let's see here. Let's read down to. Let's just go a little bit. Let's read 21. Let's just read the first 7 verses here of this chapter.
Genesis 21. And y'all visited Sarah, and he had said, and Yahweh did for Sarah as he had spoken. So Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age, at the appointed time of which Elohim had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son who was born to him, whom Sarah bore to him, Yitzchak. And Abraham circumcised his son Yitzchak when he was 8 days old. And Elohim had commanded him, as Elohim had commanded him. And Abraham was 100 years old when his son Yitzchak was born to him. And Sarah said, Elohim has made me laugh, and everyone who hears of it laughs with me. And she said, who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? For I have borne him a son in his old age.
Okay, very good. It's interesting when we look at Isaac, and when we think about his birth, the telling of the pre-telling of his birth, where it goes from this kind of mocking thing that happens, when both Abraham and Sarah hear, of having a child to begin with in their old age. But I think that the way that we see her here speaking in verse 6, all right, let's just see. Look at this verse 6. hath made me to laughter and pleasure. Okay, so the thought here is laughter and pleasure or derision. So it's laughter and pleasure or laughter and scorn. So it could have the idea of mockery, but it could also have the idea of joy. And I feel like what we see over in verse 6 is her, of course, being happy about the result of what has happened, where it began with mockery, but it ends with joy. It began with this thing where, how am I, this old lady, supposed to sit up here and have a child, to her, joy of living this whole life of being barren, literally, and finally getting to the place of being able to nurse children. Like, who would have thought? She says, I can't imagine having to live all of those years in expectation. I guess, to a certain extent, the expectation probably was gone by the time she passed the what's it say? She passed the time of a woman, or whatever it said. Whatever that age is for her, by the time she got there, the feeling of expectation had probably left her. And so having, had lived her whole cycle of life in anticipation, and then even into the time where there was no expectation, then for her finally to have a child, it probably was the most joyous thing that could ever happen to her in her whole life. Okay, so interestingly enough, here, let's start reading at verse 8.
And the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast on the day that Yitzchak was weaned.
Hold on one second. Let me just say this. It's interesting that here, I don't even know if this means anything. He made a great feast on the day that Yitzchak was weaned. For all of you nursing mothers. First of all, let me just see this real quick before I say anything else. On the day, on the Yom. So there was a decision that was made to say, this is going to be Hayom. Look that up real quick. Turn over there and see if it says Hayom. Just flip to it real fast. 21:8. On the day, there was a decision that was made. They said he is going to be weaned on this day. And then he was weaned at that day. And they had a celebration. Yossi, I long today. What do it say?
Wait, is it verse 8?
Verse 8. This is a side note. Does it say Hayom?
So it says here, and he grew the child, and he was weaned, and he made Abraham a feast. Wait, great. Okay, on Bayom, in the day. Bayom. It's Bayom, so in the day.
But in the day that he was weaned, though.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
In the day that he was weaned.
It wasn't some indefinite thing. He might have been 5 years old. But there was a decision that was made that this is going to be the time that it was going to be done, and it was done. Okay, keep on going.
Who is that for? Yosias?
I don't know who it's for.
And for Ezra?
Whoever it's for, just whoever it's
For
for.
all
It's
children.
for all
For
children.
all
If
children.
it touched you in your heart, it's for you.
And Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Mizraim, whom she had born to Abraham, mocking. So she said to Abraham, drive out this female servant and her son, for the son of this female servant shall not inherit with my son with Yitzchak. And the matter was very evil in the eyes of Abraham because of his son. But Elohim said to Abraham, let it not be evil in your eyes because of the boy and because of your female servant. Whatever Sarah has said to you, listen to her voice. For in Yitzchak, your seed is called.
Okay, very good. This is always something that's interesting. We look at this. First of all, it's interesting that Hagar is mocking Sarah. Sarah saw the son of Hagar, whom she had born to Abraham, mocking. The son is Ishmael, mocking. But again, we look at this word. This is the name, right? His name is to laugh outright, merriment, scorn or scorn. But here, this obviously is kind of the negative of the name. And so you have the one mocking the other. His name literally means to mock. And so it's interesting that we see these kind of opposite kind of things going on in regards to the name. One from Sarah being this joyous laughter that she's having for the birth of her son. And then also now we see Ishmael, who is scornfully laughing, at her son. And then we see that, she grows angry, of course. And then sometimes, we see people make the argument of Sarah and this whole idea of, her being, having the preeminence of the first wife. I think I talked about this a little bit before, but again, I think that, the thing that's missing is the dynamic of Hagar's and Sarah's relationship, where Hagar literally was a female servant who became a wife. She never stopped being a female servant. She just had this other role added to her situation of, child bearer. And so the Most High, intervenes because Abraham, of course, he has a child. He becomes connected to his child. Sarah, of course, is, she's upset. She don't want to have this dynamic in her situation anymore. She don't want to have to look around and see this person teasing her little baby. She feels a certain kind of way. Abraham is sad because, he's not the promise, but he's still my kid. Like, I still like, and the Most High said, he said, let it not be evil in your eyes. He said, it was evil in Abraham's eyes. And the Most High said, don't let it be evil in your eyes. You brought this situation on your own self.
This function.
This is the thing that you created, and the consequences that you created, you gonna have to deal with. And so he basically told Abraham to, he told him to ignore basically his emotions and feelings right here.
Mhm.
He had an emotional connection to Ishmael, um, because he literally was his son. Um, they probably, did things, together as fathers and sons do. He got this little baby, but he's a little baby. He just got wings. Like, what's he gonna what can he do? Like,
Can't throw the football
he
around
can't
with
do
him.
nothing. Like, he can't throw the axe. Like, he can't swing the sword.
He's new here. Who
He
is
can't
this
throw the
guy?
spear. Like, you don't even know this kid yet.
Yeah.
But this other one, like, I've been with this guy for all this time. Like,
Right.
so he feels a certain kind of way. But the Most High said, you keep that. You take that somewhere and put that somewhere. He got to get out of here because I made a promise to you. I made a promise to Sarah. He said, whatever it is that she said to do it. You do that. Because the ones that are connected to the promise, it's Sarah. It's important. It was important to the Most High that Sarah that she be okay with all of this. She wasn't all right with it. So he said, you need to do something about this. Listen to her voice, right? And so he did so. That's what he did, right? Okay, keep on going. Verse
12. Oh, wait.
What'd you read down to 12? Yeah, start at 13.
13. And of the son of the female servant, I also make a nation, because he is your seed. And Abraham rose early in the morning and took bread and a skin of water, which he gave to Hagar, putting it on her shoulder. Also the boy, he sent her away, and she left and wandered in the wilderness of Mount Beersheba. And the water in her skin, it's crazy to read it, just to read that line, my bad, was used up, and she placed the boy under one of the shrubs. And she went and sat down about a bow shot away, for she said, let me not see the death of my boy. And she sat opposite him and lifted her voice and wept. Elohim heard the voice of the boy, and the messenger of Elohim called to Hagar from the heavens and said to her, what is the matter with you, Hagar? Do not fear, for Elohim has heard the voice of the boy where he is. Arise, lift up the boy and hold him with your hand, for I make a great nation of him. And Elohim opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. And she went and filled the skin with water and gave the boy a drink. And Elohim was with the boy, and he grew and dwelt in the wilderness and became an archer. And he dwelt in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took a wife for him from the land of Mizraim.
Okay, very good. So we see over here, interesting little thing. Probably, I would say, the same reason why we see that we look at Hagar leaving out from the camp with her son, and the Most High still preserving Hagar and Ishmael as they go out. It seems kind of harsh, I guess, when we look at it's like she gets like a bottle of water and a piece of bread.
That's terrible. I didn't see where the Most High said to send her out like that.
Well, that's the thing that he did, but it's like he sends them out with a bottle of water and a loaf of bread.
He's like, you gonna make it somewhere. There we go. You get it out there,
But
I
it's
don't know,
you'll find
man.
somebody.
But it's almost
Yeah.
like when you think about the fact that he's not the child of promise. It's almost like he don't give a thought about it anymore. Like it's like the Most High told him. He basically told him not to care. It's so interesting. He told him not to care. He cared. He felt a certain kind of way. The Most High said, "Don't feel a certain kind of way." And it was like he gave him, basically nothing.
So hold on. Let's slow down now. Let's slow down.
Good.
Now we got on Abraham for telling that fib, that lie. Now we get to this point. Was he doing the right thing, caring about his child and the woman? And the Most High is like,
Don't worry about it.
let them go. Let what Sarah said ride. Because he ain't saying about Eve. Let what Eve said ride. Like right here, she said this, and that, and he said let that happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But maybe maybe it just comes full circle as you read the rest of the story. But it's interesting how the Most High said,
Man, I think that she got something out of it. Obviously, she got her freedom. She's no longer a bond servant. She's free.
Did she want that though?
I don't know. She didn't like Sarah.
No, she didn't leave because she wanted to leave.
Right.
She left because she had to
She
leave.
got kicked out.
I think that what we see though is kind of this transference. She left from the protection of Abraham. Whatever he would have did for her would have still been protecting her while he was gone from her. And the Most High said, let her go. He remove your protection from her. It's basically giving her unto the Most High, basically, or whoever came about. It wasn't his job anymore. It wasn't his job to set her up. If he set her up, then he's still protecting her until the setup runs out.
Mm-hmm.
He said he gave her a piece of bread and a bottle of water, and it's basically one of these. He basically did this.
He did what the Most High said.
That's what the Most High said, do really. I'm saying if he would have take 14 gerahs of bread and 1,000 cubits of water, he would have still been protecting Sarah and the child. I mean Hagar and Ishmael, right? And so the Most High said, let him go. He removed his covering from Hagar and Ishmael, and just was the Most High already said that he was going to be great.
Well, he didn't say that.
He said he's going to be great, and so he didn't have nothing to do with it. He said, go ahead. And so we can't look at it and be like, man, that's messed up what he did. But I think we got to look at technically what happened was he removed himself from them all together and said, go ahead. And then, they made it. They went out. She called to the Most High. Most High protected her until they came along. And then basically, you basically see Ishmael just becoming the man. Right, and then he take care of his mom. He goes out. She hooked him up. She takes him back. She takes him back to her homeland. He becomes a man. She probably hung out with her son and their family. Right. He became an archer. Like he did his it's just the natural thing of things. He's fine. He's gonna be all right. He's gonna be a great nation. Not as great as Israel, but he's gonna be great. But I think that we just have to look at it from the proper perspective. Because at first glance, you look at it like, dang, that's messed up. But when you look at it from a technical standpoint, he's releasing his covering, from the situation. It seems to me.
But his line also, they did become a great nation, but they also became a thorn in Israel's flesh too.
Exactly. I was about
Yeah,
to say
they definitely did do
the,
that.
the parents are setting up what happens to the offspring with these actions.
Yeah, I mean, that's from a unrighteous mind. The hatred probably
Yep.
begins to build all the way since right then.
Yep.
He just kicked us out and left us
Exactly.
with nothing. We just had a piece of bread and a bottle of water.
And there's nothing like the hatred a mother can pour into a child.
And he probably got that the whole time. And that it just became what it became. But it's just very interesting when we look at how this all begins. Okay, let's finish up the chapter here. Let's read the rest of this and be done here. Go ahead, read start 22.
And it came to be at the time of Abimelek and Pichol, the commander of his army, spoke to Abraham, saying, Elohim is with you in all that you do. And now swear to me by Elohim not to be untrue to me, to my offspring, or to my descendants. Do to me according to the loving commitment that I had done to you and to the land in which you have dwelt. And Abraham said, I swear. And Abraham reproved Abimelech because of a well of water which Abimelech's servants had seized. And Abimelech said, I do not know who has done this deed, neither did you inform me, nor did I hear until today. So Abraham took sheep and cattle and gave them to Abimelech, and the two men of them made a covenant. The two of them made a covenant. And Abraham set 7 ewe lambs of the flock by themselves, and Abimelech asked Abraham, what are these 7 ewe lambs which you have set by themselves? And he said, take these 7 ewe lambs from my hand to be my witness that I have dug this well. So he called that place Beersheba, because the two of them swore an oath there. Thus they made a covenant at Beersheba, and Abimelech rose to Pichol, the commander of his army, and they returned to the land of the Philistines. And he planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba, and there called the name of Yahweh the everlasting El. And Abraham sojourned in the land of the Philistines many days.
Okay, very good. So we see that the interactions that took place with the whole situation with the lying to Abimelech, they had that whole thing. But then after that, it was almost like a bond had happened. They had that kind of origin story between the two of them of of meeting up and giving of the wife who was the sister and all of this, but a bond then was created, right? And they have this thing where Abimelech is like, let's just be cool with each other, like forever. Like let's just say right now that we ain't gonna sit up here and be lying to one another forever. Like, swear to me by Elohim to not be untrue to me or my offspring or my descendants. Like, you basically joining the two peoples together.
Yeah.
Forever. Yeah. Like we're bonded to one another in loving commitment forever. Right. And so it's interesting that we see this thing that happened. Again, I think it just kind of doubles down on the rightness of this foreigner Abimelech. Definitely. Where he could have been sour as a result of what had happened. Like, man, this guy wants to sit up here and lie to cause these plagues to come down on me, and almost had my whole people and all killed. He could have felt bad about all of this stuff and tried to, distance himself from Abraham. But the opposite is true. And I think that, again, it speaks to the character of who Abimelek is. They have this situation. Abraham is saying, well, we got this well over here. Your people tried to sit up here and jack this well. You gave me this land. You said I could have the land. Meanwhile, your people come over and they try to seize it. And so Abimelek's like, man, I ain't know about that thing that happened. Like, I just know because you telling me right now. Like, so it's like you're able to see that, Abimelek he never went back on his situation. He just got these people that are kind of operating outside of where they supposed to, but they both get over it, and they make this covenant with each other. And so I think that something that we're able to look at that and just kind of think about is the fact that when we have the connection that we have between each other is the Most High. When He's the connection, is able to cause us to be able to overcome many things. Many times we sit up here and we fall out with this one or that one about these little petty little things, where this probably could have been potentially a great thing. Two things happened. You put me in a situation where I almost died.
Yeah.
Abraham looking at him, well, you let your people sit up here and take this thing that you said was mine. But the connection that they both had with the Most High caused them to be able to work through whatever those situations was,
right,
and move forward in righteousness.
There's no situation that could be is greater than the Most High.
Mm-mm.
And that's the thing. But if He's not there, then those situations is greater than Him, keeps you from peace, keeps you from fixing the stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And the examples that we see over here, really could have been some serious situations.
Right.
But because of the fact that they have that thing that unifies them, which is the Almighty, it helps us and shows us that what really are we able to sit up here? What are we able to let kind of wedge itself between us and whoever else when the thing that we have together is the Most High?
Exactly.
When we're able to concentrate on the thing that binds us, which is the Almighty, we're able to not allow these small or big things to creep in and to separate us. They was able to unite with one another and bond with one another, on that connection. And it should be kind of a lesson for us to be able to be able to do the same, if not more, as it relates to how we deal with others in the faith.
Yep.
All right. So that being said, does anybody have any last questions, comments before we go ahead and be done? Okay. So that being said,
We're not gonna be here next week.
we will not have our Midrash next week. We'll be going down to the youth conference over in Baltimore. So we'll continue with our look at the Torah portion on the week following that. Hope everyone has a.
We're gonna be releasing. I guess you said at the end of the year releasing a feast video.
Yes, probably in the next. We'll probably do it in the next couple of days. Have our next year's feast day video put up. So I think it might be on the website. But
The dates are on the website.
we'll put the video out so you have a nice little visual to look at. All right, so that being said, everybody have a wonderful week.
Shabbat
Enjoy the rest of your Shabbat, and we'll say Shabbat Shalom.
Hello.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Oh my goodness.